In today's video, we're talking about Wondershare Filmora 14, the absolute perfect alternative to Capcut. Hey everyone, welcome into Magnolia Photography SC. I'm Jeff House, a wildlife photographer in Charleston, South Carolina. A few weeks ago, I put out a video featuring Capcut because we really wanted to start diving into an editing program for video that would allow you to edit your videos very easily, very quickly, but yet it would still produce professional results so that you could share those videos however you want to share them, whether it's personally on your laptop computer or a desktop computer, or maybe you have a social media platform that you would like to share these on, whatever the case may be. We wanted to teach you how to go about editing these videos for wildlife. But the beginning of this video started off a little bit differently than expected, right? You will recall that I shared with you when I was recording that video how the day that I woke up to record it, I had a message that said, hey, Capcut is no longer available right now in the US. And that is when I found out that Capcut is part of the company that owns TikTok. And of course, we've all heard what's happening with TikTok and the banning of TikTok in the US, the political stuff surrounding it. So whatever. Right? We're not going to go any deeper than that when it comes to that topic. But the point is that it became pretty scary for me pretty quickly because, one, I was pretty pissed that it wasn't working. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to make the video that I had promised you guys. And that just bothers me as a YouTube creator. It also bothered me because I use Capcut to edit my wildlife videos. And now I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Now, I've used programs like Final Cut and Adobe Premiere, but I really didn't want to go back to using a product like that. It's very professional type of software, right? It's what they actually use in Hollywood movie editing. And so it's a little bit more cumbersome. It's a little bit more time consuming. I'm not a professional video editor. I can hold my own in some programs, but I'm not a professional and don't want to have to worry about something with a steep learning curve. That being said, this is why I want to show you guys programs like Capcut and today Wondershare Filmora 14, because I think that if we create these wildlife videos, a lot of us are in the position where, yeah, we want to edit them, right? We want them to have nice color. We want them to look beautiful. We want to have good exposures. We want to do those things like we do with our photos, but we don't want to invest a ton of time into learning a video editing program for our end use, right? Which is sharing videos online, sharing them in slideshows, sharing them on platforms like YouTube. Whatever your use is, you just don't have the time or possibly even the desire to go way deep into learning a video editing program. So this is why Capcut was so attractive. This is why Wondershare Filmora is so attractive. It allows us to create very professional looking videos with a lot less effort than using Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere. That is the whole point of these videos. I know in that last video, I was also talking to you guys about me researching other video editors when I found out that Capcut wasn't available, because I really wanted to start to go on the hunt to say, hey, especially if Capcut wasn't available for me to do a video, I wanted to be able to provide you guys with some sort of video editing solution. So that's when I started going through researching all these different ones, and I really didn't find many that I liked. They were either missing features that came in Capcut, or they just didn't work the same or as well as in Capcut, and it just became pretty disappointing. I mentioned also in that video that I kind of started to check out a company, a program that I've had before by Wondershare Filmora. And so I came back to this to check it out because they just released Wondershare Filmora 14, not all that long ago. But their products in the past have been pretty decent. I've never spent a ton of time with them. This new version is getting great reviews. I'm going to check this out. Well, lo and behold, it has now become my official video editor. I have scrapped Capcut because for me, I don't want to have to deal with a software, a company that may be here today, but may not be here tomorrow. And I think we all have to look at that as creatives, as photographers, videographers, whatever we are creating. We have to look at the companies we choose to work with. If we want to use Adobe products, well, Adobe's got its own set of problems, and we could make a whole video or two on that. But I think we can all agree that we don't have to wake up tomorrow wondering if Lightroom Classic or Photoshop is going to be here. It's going to be here. There's a certain reliability that comes with Adobe and knowing that their apps are still going to be in existence tomorrow. The same holds true for Wondershare Filmora. This is a company that's had this product out for a long time. It's a product they continue to invest in. They continue to do their research and development and make improvements. And there's a reliability that comes with them. We're not talking about a cheap product from a company that we don't know all that well. Apps go out all the time. So you got to be careful about what we're doing, right? It might be tempting to choose a really inexpensive app, but you might wake up tomorrow and find out, hey, they just got rid of it. They decided no more of this nonsense. We're tired of dealing with it. We're not going to invest any more in it. We're not going to do updates. We're not going to do improvements. We're done with it. It's gone. And that's just a bad position to be in. And that's why I keep saying we don't want to put our eggs all in one basket. We need to have a plan, and we need to have a backup plan. And this is our backup plan, depending on what you want to do personally when it comes to Capcut. If you're okay with the instability and you want to stick with that, then by all means, stick with it. I would recommend you download the free trial of Filmora and learn it so that you have your backup plan in case that day comes when the US government says it's banned. You're not going to be able to use it here in the US. That's just my thought. You got to do what's right for you, though. Knowing that and taking a look at, all of that information, I want to dive into Filmora today to show you the inside workings of how this particular software works when it comes to video editing. And I think what's going to be nice is that it's going to be pretty easy for us to have a conversation about it because it's very, very similar to Capcut, but I think it's better than Capcut in many ways. And one of the big ways that I think it's better than Capcut is when it comes to its music library. If you recall in the Capcut video, I was saying be very cautious about how you share videos out of Capcut if you're using music from their library, because not all of the music was released to its users to use online. Some of it still had copyright infringements on them. And if you used that music in a video online, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, if you use their music, you could find yourself in some hot water. You could find yourself facing some legal issues if someone came after you for using that music. You don't have any of that with Filmora. Everything that is inside of Filmora, you have the rights to use it. You don't have to worry about copyright infringements and legal issues. And for me, that's a huge peace of mind. Now, you probably will spend a little bit more money using Filmora than you will Capcut. But for me, I will pay for the peace of mind knowing I can use anything in their program and I don't have to worry about being sued. I don't have to worry about some attorney knocking on my door saying, you used this song in this video on such and such a date. We're suing you, for violating the copyright. Not a position you want to be in. And trust me, there are a lot of YouTubers that have found themselves in a similar position to that, and it's no fun. The program for Filmora, they have 3 different licenses that you can buy. They have 2 yearly licenses and 1 perpetual license, and you can look up to see what the specific differences are between them, but they pretty much range from $50 to $80, and you can just choose what best meets your situation and your needs. They're all pretty comparable. From there, that's nice, right? Because it's just a one-time purchase for the actual program. From there, it's a lot like Capcut. They have different ways that you can access their media library, right? This includes videos, photos, it includes music, sound effects, a whole huge library of this stuff, which can be really great if you use these types of things. If you don't need them, then you don't need to really subscribe to that. And it's not a have to, right? It's a choice. But you can pay yearly for their stock media type programs, okay? If you do it where you pay an upfront yearly fee, I think it's like $100. It works out to be like $833 a month. And so you can just pay that one-time fee, and for the whole year, you'll have access to the stock media library. You can also do it on a monthly basis. Now it's $19.99 a month, which, by the way, is the same price as Capcut if you want all the pro features in Capcut. And this allows you complete access to all their media libraries. And you can cancel at any time. So if you decide that you want to take a couple months off because you're not doing videos or you don't have a need to do any videos and you don't want to pay for it, just cancel it and then start it back up when you're going to be producing some more videos. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility as far as that is concerned. But again, having all the rights to use this stuff, I think it's well worth the $20 a month. I don't think that that's too bad of a price tag, especially for all of the media that they provide inside of Filmora. Okay, so now with that stuff out of the way, guys, let's jump into Filmora and take a look at how it's set up and take a look at some of the editing techniques and how it compares to Capcut. Okay, welcome into Filmora, and here we go. And I think you're going to find pretty quickly right off the bat, and this is pretty true, I think, of a lot of video editors, right? They're set up in a very similar way. The flow of the program will be very similar, but we're really looking at Filmora compared to Capcut, and I think it's almost identical, right? So in this upper left-hand corner, if you remember the video from Capcut, it pretty much had the exact same things. We have our media, which of course is what we can bring in to Filmora. Whatever video or photos that we want to use in our video, we can just drag and drop them here into the import box, or we can, of course, click on import and then navigate to the file or folder that is housing our media, and we can bring it in that way. Either way, it's very easy to get it in and get your project started. And you can add your media at any time when you need it. It's not like you have to do everything in the beginning, and if you don't, oh well, you're kind of SOL, right? No, you can bring in media at any time that you're working on a project. Then we have the stock media, and this, of course, is where we can find out, all sorts of videos and different things, and everything is searchable up here. You can see I searched birds, and I just took some of the videos from the stock media and I added it to our timeline down here for the purposes of showing you this software. So you can do whatever you want here, and it's really wonderful. It really is a well-stocked media library. Then we have audio, and of course, this is going to include our music and our sound effects. And there are a ton of sound effects and a ton of music that you can use for your video. And it's good stuff. It's not just full of crap that you're like, oh my God, this music is just awful. Because trust me, there are services out there that, simply focus on music and sound effects, and it's just garbage. And you just can't seem to find any music or sound effects that, fit your needs. And it can be frustrating. We have titles, so of course we can add title effects, title templates, text, however we want into our video, and of course we can edit that. We can change the font size, font color, font location in our video, however we want to do that. So we can do all of that right here inside of Filmora, and it's just a great way to up the production value of your videos, is adding some text and titles and doing some things of that nature. Transitions, we talked a little bit about this in Capcut as well. This is where we have two video clips coming together, right? There's a seam, a meeting point of those two video clips. And once we go from one clip to the other, if we don't do anything, that is referred to as the hard cut. and it's a very abrupt change from one video clip to the next. But we can add a transition to create a more gentle switch from one clip to the next. And so transitions come in very nice sometimes. And really what I find is you'll find one or two of them that you just really like. They're really professional looking. And that one for me, which I will show you, is this fade dissolve here inside of Filmora. I really love how this works as a transition. It's very subtle, but very professional and very elegant looking. We don't want to get into these crazy transitions that do all these crazy kind of stupid things where things are twirling and spinning and it just looks real amateurish. All right, so we have effects and filters. These are two things that we can add to our video clips to add these different, as it says, effects or filters to the video clip itself. And so you can experiment with these, try them out, see if there's anything you like. I really don't engage in any of these particular effects when I'm editing my videos, but they are there. And then lastly, you have the stickers, which is something that if you're doing YouTube videos, it's going to be very helpful. If you're doing things on social media, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, some of these things also may be beneficial for you, you know, putting up a thumb to like the video on Facebook or whatever. But look through these, see what's available. See if it has any value to you and any videos that you make. All right, so that's the top part, and that's how we can add the different elements to build out our videos. And then once again, our timeline is down here where we do our editing work. And once we have something down here and we select it, we will get tools over here on the top right-hand side, exactly as Capcut presented them. So the first thing that we're going to start with here is the video, right? And when we look at the video, there were really three things that we were most interested in when it came to editing our wildlife videos. And that was scaling the video, maybe changing and this kind of goes with, this is all in number one, but scaling the video and then moving it left and right or up and down in our frame for better positioning, right? So we can just come over here and we can scale this to do whatever we want. And then we can, you know, we can move it left or right and we can move it up and down. And those allow us to just tweak our subject and our frame a little bit. Of course, remember to be careful with the scaling, right? Because if you go too small, you will not have your video the same size as your canvas, and that will create black bars around your project. And you want to try to avoid that. So just make sure that you're good there and that you don't have any black bars around your canvas. Other than that, in Filmora here, Capcut had their stabilization and their image denoising. They had that all right here in their video basic tab. That's where Filmora is a little bit different. It's just located in a different spot, but they offer these features and they offer us some control over them. So if we go to the AI tools up here under video, we go to AI tools. If we just scroll down a little bit here, we are going to see that we have the option for stabilization and for video denoise. And we can just flip the switch and we then have a slider here, which will allow us to make some adjustments to the effect. If we want a little less stabilization, we slide it to the left. If we want a little bit more, we go to the right. Now, generally speaking, you can't put the slider somewhere in between here. You do have to either make it, you know, minimal, middle, or end. But the point is that you can move the slider to the left and to the right, but that will help you control the effect, but you can't go down just, you know, to 90% or 80%. So just keep that in mind. Same thing with video denoise, right? We have a lower value, a middle value, and a higher value. You can slide that slider to the left or to the right to your desired amount. Those are very important features under the video that we will typically use in most of our wildlife videography. It does offer some masking if you wanted to get into masking. We're not really going to be doing that in the videos, so we're not going to cover that aspect of that right now. The next thing that we'd really be looking at would be the color panel here. And this is where we're going to go ahead and worry about adjusting our color grading and color corrections. and also where we're going to worry about our HSL colors, our exposures, all those good things. So under this, let's keep in mind that we have the picture profiles, right? The picture profiles inside our camera. We talked a lot about this in the how to capture video in our camera, and there are different picture profiles that we can use, and they offer us different levels of editing. So some of the profiles that we can use pretty much take the footage out of camera and post it online without any real editing. Other profiles allow us to manipulate the footage to some extent in editing. And then we have the real flat looking profiles, which I showed you in Capcut, where we can really do a lot of color grading and color correction and different things to the video, because it's very flat and it's kind of built with the fact that we're going to kind of build the colors and all that up from scratch. Now, keep in mind, the reason that I like to use that really flat profile is because it gives us a great amount of dynamic range in the video. And of course, the dynamic range, again, is all the tonal ranges we have from the brightest part of the image to the darkest part of the image. And the more tonal range we have, the more we can manipulate the video and the better quality video we generally have. And you'll also remember that because I use that, I use what's referred to as a LUT. And I like to use that Sony S-Log3 LUT with my very flat profile because it gives me very beautiful colors and everything looks really amazing once it's had that LUT applied to it. If you're using one of the profiles in your camera that allows for some editing, when you come in to the color basic tab here in Filmora, you will have these presets that you can choose to use or not. It all depends on what you like or don't like or what have you. But you can try these out. Most of the times, you know, these presets that are built into any editing software, whether it's photo or video, they're okay, right? They're not amazing. They can get the job done in a pinch, but usually I wouldn't recommend relying on them. But if you do find one or two that you really like and you think it looks good across the majority of your footage and you want to use that, by all means do that. But I just, again, would caution you that these usually aren't the best option for getting the best color out of your video footage. So the other option, of course, is to do it manually. And if you just scroll down to the bottom, you will see all of the sliders down here like we saw in Capcut and like we commonly see in photo editing programs. So this should seem and look very familiar to you because we can change temperature, we can change vibrance and saturation and exposure and brightness, our whites, our blacks, all that good stuff that we have become accustomed to when editing photos and video. It's all available to us right here. We, of course, can go to the HSL tab where we can specifically hone in a particular color. So if we wanted to do the reds here, we could choose that and we could work on the saturation and see what happens to the picture by dragging it left or right. And we can make whatever adjustments we want to make there. Then lastly, we have the curves. And if you remembered, we did touch on this in the Capcut video a little bit. This is another way to fine tune our exposure in the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. Just keep in mind that when using the curves, the highlights are on the right, the midtones, of course, are in the center, and the shadows are on the left side of the frame. So we can pick a point on here and drag it up or down or left or right, and we're going to get different effects based on what we can do. But you can just play around with this and see if you like what you do or like the photo better or worse. And there's all sorts of different ways you can do this. Have a little fun with it. I don't really use this in my video editing. I don't find it all that valuable for my workflow and my purposes, but you may. So if you want to explore that a little bit, that option is available for you. We then have the speed part of the tools, which allows us to slow up our footage or maybe even speed it up depending on what kind of project we're working on. But for most of the time when we're dealing with wildlife videos, we're usually talking about slowing our footage up, putting it into slow motion, because wildlife in slow motion, as we always say, just looks so beautiful. And it's really amazing to see the animal moving in slow motion because we really can soak in everything that's happening. Another great way to adjust the speed that I have found in Filmora is to come down here to the toolbar on the editing timeline. And here is this little clock looking thing, right? Like a little speedometer. And if you just click this, you can come down and you can go slow, and then you can change it to whatever you want. I like the 0.5 and the 0.25. They both work really well inside of Filmora. So this is just a real easy way for me to pick a slow motion video without dragging a slider and trying to get to a specific amount. It's a little faster just to do it right through this tool. Again, based on how I use the program and how I edit my wildlife videos, but that's there for you to check out as well. We have the same tools that we did in Capcut, right? We have the magnetic tool. And if you remember, this is where if we turned it off, we can move things away from each other, right? And they won't snap back into place. We can kind of put them on the timeline as we see fit. But when we put that tool back on, everything will slide over to the left and everything will make sure that it's butting up against each other and there's no gaps or spaces between video clips. We also have the snapping tool. And if you remember this, this is where we bring something up to the line above and we can snap it into place. I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to snap it into place, right? When I get there, oh, you can see that green line pops up and tells us it's snapping in to where this video and this video meet, so we know everything is exactly lined up. There may be times, there may be instances, many times I should say, when we don't want that to be the case. We may not want it to be perfectly lined up like that. So we can turn it off, and this gives us a little bit more opportunity to fine tune our precision. Maybe we want this to just start before that hard cut, right? So maybe we want this hummingbird, whatever, transferring into another video, and we don't see what's going on underneath this. We can have lots of reasons for doing that, but just keep in mind that we have this snapping tool here, and so that can come in really handy. So those are the same tools, like I said, that we have in Capcut. And of course, another tool that we had in Capcut was this one over here, where we can change the size of the timeline, right? We can make the clips longer or shorter. And this allows us, if we have music or audio waves, let me throw a piece of music down here for a second. If we were to throw this down here, bring the volume up a little bit so we can get a good visual on the audio waves. If we bring this down, you can see that it scrunches all the waves together. But if we go to the right and spread it out, we can spread out those waves. So if we were doing talking like I'm doing right here, and if I made a mistake, which I've made plenty of them this video, I can cut that out, right? And it's very easy when you spread out the audio forms to just really identify a specific part that you want to cut out and remove that without affecting any other parts of the audio wave. So it's just a great way to go about that there. Let's remove the audio clip. And let's just go back to our video now. I basically see videographers, right? Wildlife photos or videos being made. And I think there's probably, we fall into one of a couple of categories. So if you're going to create some video on your camera and you're of course going to want, let's just say that you want to edit it to some degree, unless you're using the profile that allows you to bring it right up to social media without editing, you're going to be in here doing some sort of editing. And even if you are letting the camera do all the color corrections and processing in camera, you still may want to cut up your clip, right? And get rid of the dull parts or the boring parts, or maybe just a part where you missed focus, or the bird flew out of frame, or the animal that you were videoing ran out of frame. Whatever the case may be, there's probably parts that you don't want included in the video. So you still want to cut it up and get it down to the best parts of the video. So for those of you who just want to do that, we can come in here and it's going to be very similar to CapCut, right? So let's say we're looking at these birds here flying, and you can see right here, right? Here's a little error that occurred. The bird is coming, and all of a sudden the bird goes out of frame. You may not have wanted that in there. Maybe you're like, yeah, that doesn't look the best. It kind of looks a little amateurish, or I kind of made a mistake there. Let's go back to where the bird was in frame, and let's hit Command or Control B on our Mac or Windows PC, and we'll cut it there. Maybe you then want to go, okay, well, I'll do that. And then, well, he came back into frame, so maybe I'll cut it there again, and we'll just get rid of that part, right? And so we're going to have this kind of look to it, right? It's going to be going, and there's a little stutter there, and you'd be like, oh, I don't know if I really want that little end piece there, right? I don't really like how that looked. Maybe we'll just get rid of that too, and we'll just highlight that, and we'll hit delete on our keyboard. Let's look at the next clip. Well, we'll come in and, oh, the bird's out of frame already, right? It's already starting out of frame. So if we play this a little bit, oh, all of a sudden the bird starts coming into frame. Now we've got the bird and he's in a pretty good position there, right? So we really don't want, we might start this clip here, but we really don't want anything to the left. Well, let's look at the two ways that we can edit this particular clip. And we talked about this in CapCut. There's two ways to do this. We could use the Command or Control B keystrokes, right, to place a cut right here where the red line is. We would then left click on this video clip to the left of that, which would highlight it. And then we could hit the delete key on our keyboard, and that would just get rid of that clip with the bird out of frame. The other way we can do it, of course, I'm going to zoom in here so we can see this, is you see how we have the bracket there with the arrow pointing to the right. That tells us that we're on the clip that we're working on right now. If we were to go to the left, we'd be on the clip before it. So we go to this point where we got the clip to the right. And remember, we can just click and drag this to the red line. I'm going to unzoom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go of my left mouse button because we've dragged it all the way back to the red line. What's going to happen here when I let go? It's going to snap back because we've got the magnetic tool on for our timeline. So that is a real easy way of doing it. You don't have to do the cut. You can just drag the clip to where you want the video to start because it was starting from the end. So let's watch this clip and we'll just see if it goes through, see if there's any other part that we want to cut out. And it looks pretty decent. So we could say hypothetically here, okay, we've gone up, we've gone through our clips, we've got everything down to the parts that we want to keep. We're good to go. Hey, you chose a picture profile in camera where you don't have to do any color correction or color grading. Everything is set for you. Do you want to add any music to it? Maybe you don't. If you don't want to add music, you can go up, you can export your video, and you're set to go. You can go share that wherever you want to share it. But perhaps you want to add some audio. Well, let's put some audio on this clip. And so we're going to do that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm just going to cut that audio clip so that it matches the length of our video. Now you'll recall we have a couple different things we can do here, a couple different shortcuts. We can use the hand tool here, which by the way is the letter V on our keyboard inside of Filmora. So we can just click on that line and drag it up and down. This changes the volume of our music. So maybe we want to drag it down just a little bit because we don't want it to be too overpowering. And the other thing you may want to consider is if it's up too loud, you see how we're getting yellow here on the tips of our music? That means in those areas, the music is too loud and the sound is going to be clipping. We do not want that. So a good rule of thumb is drag that music down at least until those yellow tips are gone. Then we will avoid the clipping. I just got to get my hand back on that and we can go up and down. So right around there looks pretty good. That removes the yellow, that removes the clipping. We won't have any distortion in our sound now when it plays. The other thing that we talked about in CapCut that we can do very easily here, this is pretty much the same on any video editor, is we can do fade ins and fade outs with the music simply by going over. And once we get the double arrow there, you see we got an arrow to the left and an arrow to the right. We can drag to the right while holding our left mouse button, and that will create a fade in. I'll leave that as is. Then we can go to the right, and you see we got that white dot again. We got an arrow going to the left and an arrow going to the right. We can click and hold our left mouse button and drag to the left to create a fade out. Let's hear what this sounds like with the fade in and the fade out. Here's the fade in first. It's going to build up. Very subtle because it's not a big fade in. We'll pause that and I'll just move it closer down to the fade out and we'll listen to that for a second. And here it goes to fade out. Okay. So as I said in the Capcut video, and I'll repeat it here, I am a fan of the fade out when it comes to wildlife video clips, but I don't really like the fade in. Reason for that is we are typically dealing with shorter video clips when we're doing our wildlife videos, right? And if we're sharing those online or on YouTube, we want something that grabs the viewer's attention. I don't want the music to come in softly and subtly. I want it to come on immediately and grab that viewer's attention. So I would undo the fade in, and I might possibly drag this fade out maybe just a little bit more just to get it going down softer towards the end. And just softly fade this away, and it sounds very professional, very elegant, right? So that looks beautiful. So that is how we could go about adding music to our wildlife videos. You've already done your color correction, right? You've already done your stabilization. You've done your denoising if it's applicable, and you've cut up your clip to get it to the best parts. Now you're adding your music to give it that extra feel, right? Music to these videos makes all the difference in the world. And hey, don't worry, it's probably always worth adding a little music, because if you want to use this clip in another project down the line in the future, you can always mute the music. You wouldn't have to play it in another project that you might create at another time. So feel free to use the music however you want. You could now go to the top, you can hit export, and you can bring that video out and you can save it wherever you save your edited video clips, and you can then share it wherever you want to share it. The next thing that you may want to do, and we're just going to take the music off of here just to eliminate distractions, but let's talk about adding some stock media. Maybe you want a clip, some B-roll. Remember the B-roll term, right? This is something that we add to our main track. Maybe we want to add like a photographer. Maybe if I put in wildlife photographer, we can kind of get a clip here. Or maybe we'll do something like this, and perhaps we want it to fall on the timeline here, and we'll see how long it is, and we'll see what the clip actually consists of. So first thing I would do is silence it. So I'm going to drag down the sound of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the left-hand side. This isn't where we're going to place it necessarily. It's close to where we're going to place it on our timeline. But what I really want to see right now is what is included in this clip, because I want to make it so that it's the parts that I want. So I'm going to drag this to the right so that the clip plays, and I can kind of see, so this guy's like tightening a bolt on his camera. All right, whatever. For the purposes of what we're doing here, maybe this fits our needs, and we're like, okay, this is good. We'll put that, somewhere right here. We'll take the snapping off because we want to really fine tune this to come in right here around this clip, and then we can turn that back on. And then we can go, okay, so when the clip plays, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to be playing. Oh, we're going to cut to the camera, and then we're going to be back to the main track. So that's how we can add the B-roll into our footage. All right, maybe we want to add a little text, right? Maybe we want to come over here. Maybe we're going to just put a little text down here, and we're going to shorten this up quite a bit, and we'll figure out if the length is acceptable later on once we do a little test play. But you can see that we've dropped the text down here, and then we can go back over here to the basic, and this is where we can edit what it says. And I'm just going to type in wildlife. And I kind of even like the font here. I think it even kind of looks a little bit wildlife-ish. So we can come down here and we can scale it and maybe do something like that. Maybe we want it to be a different color. So I'll go back up here and we'll click down here. We can go more for more colors, or we can choose something in here. Maybe, I don't know, we'll just do something a little bright here. We'll do a pink. You could even come down here and do a preset. Maybe you want the lettering to be a little thicker, and then we could go back and still choose our pink, and it just gives our font a little bit pizzazz. So I click off of it, and then I can go back and click on it and drag it around wherever I want it. So maybe I put it right there, and we're pretty happy with that, right? That looks pretty good. Let's play it though and see what it looks like as it comes in and how long it stays up for. Pretty good. I like that length of time that it's on the timeline, but maybe we don't want the text to just kind of pop up and pop off. Maybe we want to animate the text, make it just a little bit more interesting. Don't go crazy with these effects. Like, let's use something a little bit more subtle, right? Less is more. But let's look at the animation. So we're going to go to the in point, and maybe we just want it to, I'm just going to choose 2 effects. I'm not going to worry about it being a little bit more subtle. So keep that in mind. This is really just for, the purposes of demonstrating this. So maybe we'll do the typewriter on the in, and we'll go to the out, and we'll do the typewriter again, or we'll choose something different. We'll do a fade for the out, so it's a little bit more obvious. So when we go through and play this, we get to our text. There's an in and an out, right? So let's look at that again. It kind of already has the typewriter effect on it, so we're not really noticing it that well. So we'll just kind of go back over here, and we'll go back to the in point. Maybe we'll try to do something a little bit more dramatic here. We'll do a zoom, and then we'll go to the out, and maybe we'll do like an erase. Okay, so let's see when we play this, zooms in and then erases out. All right, so you can do different things like that, which can up the production value when you use things that are a little bit more subtle. When you start to use the really over the top types of effects, I'm telling you, it's really going to degrade your video footage. It's going to really make it look amateurish. So be careful about those types of things. Transitions, right? Let's talk about that. I said that the fade dissolve was my favorite. Hey, let's take a look at that hard cut first, right? Let's just revisit that to see what it looks like. So here is the clip of the birds. The hard cut is right to this one, and it doesn't look that great, right? So let's go back to that. We got the hard cut, and let's add the fade in here now so we can kind of see what this looks like. So if we have this backed up a little bit, this is what the fade cut will look like into this. Very soft and gentle, looks great right there. We'll do that again, and that looks fantastic. So that's how easily we can add transitions. And of course, we can just add one of those transitions everywhere these videos meet, everywhere there's a cut mark and where the 2 videos are butting up against each other. We got the effects and the filters. Again, these are things that we can add to our video to give it a certain look, a certain vibe, a certain feel. Play around with those. If you like them, great. If you don't, great. We typically don't use these, or at least I don't typically use these in my wildlife videos. I really don't have a need for that. I want them to look like my LUT. And so that's where I stick. And then we got stickers. And this is really probably only going to be useful to you if you are sharing your videos on social media or YouTube, and you are having a channel where you have people watching you and you want to up the production value. You want to add things like subscribe to the channel, right? You could just throw this in here. We'll back this up, and we'll just make it a little bit smaller here for whatever reason. And of course, what we can do is we just drag this over, and we can scale it down with our scale tool, and we can just click it and drag it on the screen to where we want it. And then when the video plays, this is what our subscribe button will look like. So these are things we can do if we're doing the social media thing, right? I'm guessing a lot of us won't have a need for these types of things. We won't have a need for the stickers because we're really more focused on editing our wildlife clips, getting good color, getting good exposure, and then maybe adding some music, maybe not, then exporting them and having them ready for when we want to share them online or with family and friends in some other means, some other way. This is Filmora 14. I think you can see that there are a lot of similarities to how Capcut works. And if you're using Capcut and you're afraid of when it's going to go away, if it's going to go away, and you want to make a change to a more stable platform, something that's a little bit more reliable, this is your product. This works great. Download the free trial, give it a go, see how you like it, see how it works. I think you're going to find that you really like it. It's pretty smooth, and it does an excellent, excellent job. Let me know what you think about Filmora 14. Let me know what you think about this video. If you found it helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking it. And don't forget to click the bell icon so that you can be made aware of when the next video comes out. Thank you again for spending your time with me. You know how much I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing all of you in the very next video. Until then, good luck with your wildlife. Good luck with your wildlife photos, videography. Take care.